I've seen and heard a lot of critics talk bad about Eli Roth, and I didn't know he was directing this movie. I saw it and I saw his name, but I could not help myself just to be like, "Uh-oh." A little. Follow us on the social medias.
Yep.
Follow us on the social media. Follow us on Twitter at McBlam ENT. Follow Facebook and Instagram at McBlam Entertainment. Follow me personally on Twitter at Mr. McBlam. On Instagram at Mikey McBlam. Bill, where can they go if we want to see something funny?
Go to I.C. improv comedy on at the Twitter, also Instagram and Facebook at I.C. improv.
So we are now going to get into a fairly new film that's come out recently called The House with the Clock in Its Walls, directed by Eli Roth. Now, I didn't know that going in or anything. And this is actually based off of a children's book that came out in the 70s, which I have not read, but Bill over here has.
And you should, and honestly, it will create a huge new interest. And it's funny because a lot of people, when this trailers first came out, they went, they're ripping off Harry Potter and they're ripping off is this a new Goosebumps movie? Because it had Jack Black in it. It was a new Goosebumps movie. And everybody who had read the books like, no, it's not ripping off Harry Potter. If anything, Harry Potter ripped off from this because this came out way before Harry Potter. This would have been honest, and I mentioned this to you before. This may have been a series of books that J.K. Rowling checked out of the library and read to her kids. And there's some similarities. I'm just saying that there are. I'm not accusing anybody of anything because I don't want to be sued, and I'm not making any connections. But if you just look at the story of Harry Potter and then look at the story of the house with a clock in its walls, you will see there will be some similarities there. Before the film even came out, we talked about the trailer.
Yes.
You want to talk about that first since that came out? And we were like, oh, and I showed them to you.
You know
like,
what? That's probably a good thing. That's probably a good thing. Let's start with that first because these trailers don't really know, like the movie didn't really know what it wanted to be. Now, when I first saw this, the trailers, I saw the second one first. I saw it in the theaters as I was watching, what was I watching? I think I was watching Ant-Man and the Wasp. And I saw the trailer for this. And I saw the second trailer. Now, the second trailer, I felt was like, all right, this is a kid's movie, kind of goosebumpy, kind of vibe or whatever. Right. And that's what I kind of felt that it was. I was like, all right, this is generic kids movie or whatever. I was like, okay, I'm fine with this. It had a lot of silliness in it. Not an overabundance of it, but I was like, all right, this
a Jack Black level of silliness.
Yes, there you go.
That's why people were saying it's Goosebumps because the Jack Black was in Goosebumps.
Bill came up to me, he said like, hey, did you see that trailer?
I said, hey, you see that?
I was like, yeah, I saw the trailer.
I said, which one did you see? And you're like, I don't know.
I was like, wait, there's more? I was like, I just thought there was
And then I showed you the first one.
Showed me the first one. And the first one, if I'm being perfectly honest, this is completely 180 from what you see here. Now, I can only show you like little snips here because Universal will take this video down real quick. So, but yeah, it just like the overall feel of it. I can't show that one. The overall feel of it. Every time I go to click over, it was just like Universal. I'm like, yes, we know. But the overall feel of it was just so much more foreboding. It felt darker. It felt scarier, in my personal opinion. I was just like, this feels like a completely different movie.
And one of the things, because of what they focused on, they didn't focus on the silly aspects in the first one, and then they talked about, lady, do you hear the ticking, and the ticking. That kept going through the whole thing. It was almost like a little bit, the ticking. You kept hearing that, and then the little logo, the letters went like things were counting down. You're like, okay, so it's ominous.
Yes.
And the other part was, there was a scene that you've seen in the second trailer where the kid sees the sailing ship behind him move, and he goes, things are quite different here. But the way he said it in the movie, and the way he said it in the second trailer was kind of silly.
Very different.
Right. But in the first one, they put in a big pause. You're seeing that things are
quite different here.
Here. And he just, that longer pause made a huge difference because it hung. And that is, again, the difference. Kind of like they say, they say like comedy is tragedy plus timing.
Yep.
So the timing is different there as opposed to making it like things are quite different here.
Yes.
Or things are quite different here.
Yeah.
Even just a little different emphasis makes it a little like, is he trying to be funny? The first one was like, oh, he's okay, that's weird. Yeah. The second was like, is he trying to be funny?
Or is he?
Or should I be worried?
Yes.
And that way you're like, I don't know. So
exactly. Some of the good things about the movie is like the color scheme, like the way it's the stylization of it.
Yep.
Good job.
Absolutely.
Really good. I mean, like the colors
Costumes,
really pop.
colors.
And
it's interesting because it was, the movie's set in the 50s and the book was set in the 50s.
Yes.
So that was good. The use of colors. My wife commented on what she did like. She said that she loved the look of the house, and I did too. So yes, in terms of like the last movie we talked about, the scenery looked good, the costumes look good.
Yes.
Mrs. Zimmerman, Kate Blanchett, as my wife said, saved the movie, wearing all the purple because Mrs. Zimmerman loved the color purple.
Yeah.
So she was just a fiend.
Not the color purple.
Not the movie although the movie Color Purple was a great movie.
That's a great movie.
I love that movie too. I can understand that. So she would probably love that too. But she would wear purple and had everything purple.
Yes.
For some reason she loved it, and that's what was her thing.
And
much like the kids thing was the goggles, basically.
Yeah. I will say that for the most part, like I know, like you had mentioned, like when we had left everything, I was like, this is kind of like Jack Black, just kind of being Jack Black.
Right. I don't think he was the character. I think he was playing himself most of the time.
And I'll say that for I'm going to kind of flip flop back and forth here. Like one of the things about the film is that I feel like you said it takes place in the 50s, right? Other than clothing choices at times, I don't feel that.
Well, color choices and the vehicles. Other than that,
yeah, I mean, even like vehicles, like nowadays, like people come out with like their old retro stuff and stuff. So
but the old bus,
not to that degree,
the old car, the old bus, things like that. The soda shop. I mean, a little bit. I mean, you can go to some places and still be the old soda shop. But here's the thing. Now, we talked about this as well.
Oh well, we'll get to that in a second. We'll get to that in a second because like
he knows what I'm gonna say.
Yeah, because like one of the things, like like I said, other than clothing choices at times, it just didn't really have that feel.
Right.
And part of that is, I'm going to say, dialogue.
Well, they needed to use more 50s slang and terminology and nomenclature kind of stuff. They didn't use enough 50s dialogue. They didn't really use any that I
it felt, everything kind of still felt in a modern area. And if you kind of look at it as like, all right, this is a fantasy just movie altogether. This is a fantasy realm, put it that way. If you look at it that way, it's like, okay, this is not necessarily taking place during the 50s. It just has a sort of a 50s kind of look to it. But it's still like, it could be taking place at any particular time. But if you kind of look at it that way, then you can kind of roll with it. Like I said, over time, like I was trying to figure out, like, when the heck is this? Because, like I said, I had no background on this. So I'm like, when the heck is this?
Right.
And over time, I'm just like, all right, let me just look at it this way. If I look at it this way, maybe it's not going to nag at me as much, because like I said, I'm looking at clothing. I'm looking at, settings all together. I'm like, all right, this looks old.
Right.
It doesn't feel old. It doesn't feel like, like from the 1950s or whatever. And, there are certain inaccuracies there, which we'll get into. But
it's not just in this movie, but we've seen this in other trailers and movies where they portray stuff that didn't actually or would not have taken place in the 50s.
Yes.
And I'm just like...
Yeah.
And here's the thing. What you're saying is, and I mentioned this as well, this movie didn't need to be set in the 50s. It really didn't.
Yeah,
there was nothing about it other than the book was written by John Bel Ayres, the book series that focuses on Louis Barnevelt and his uncle and his friends and stuff. He grew up in the 50s.
When they actually used magic, pretty cool. I do like I like, specifically the flame effect. I was like, wow, you guys really...
the electricity and the
electricity and the flames, cool. Flame effects and stuff. I'm like, wow, hey, these guys got really, really good with their, with effects nowadays and everything. There's a particular moment in the movie that's really extremely beautiful, when they pretty much reveal space.
Right, and you see that in the trailer. You see that a little bit in the trailer.
And it's just like, wow, like this looks... Like when they actually are using magic, it's really good.
It doesn't look... It doesn't... I mean, it's CGI, but it doesn't look so bad.
Right. Right.
You're like,
I mean,
and here's the thing with the clockwork people and all the mannequins and stuff. There was enough of some of that was CGI, but most of it wasn't. I mean, it was actual real things. I mean, like there were actual mannequins. Yeah, go back to that. Yeah, some of those are, but a lot of those aren't because you don't see anything below it. So, but they're not supposed to look like they're real. They were mannequins and like. Strange sideshow and magic things or what have you, and odd looking things, and like the magician who told a fortune or whatever. So, but you can find like the Zoltar from the old big movie. You can still find those looking things in some places. So they use that, and they kind of mix it in with CGI. But still, you're like, wow, they're really creepy, and they were real looking, which made it extra creepy. You know what I mean? Because in the scene, you'd see them in like the storeroom with all the things just sort of sitting around by themselves, not moving, were creepy. And then when they walked back up there and they were facing him, and you heard them saying things,
saying a certain thing,
okay, that's not at all creepy, because they're all staring up and here he comes, and they were making other different sounds and everything, clicking and whatnot.
This is I don't want to come across as like seem like I'm being harsh on this. I shouldn't be too harsh on kids films. I'm like, you can have good acting in kids films,
right? Which
means you don't have to ham it up all the time.
No.
Now sometimes hamming it up does work. You can have fun with it. You can be doing something, and at the same time, like you could be like, okay, it's a little bit. You got a little bit of elevation there, but you're not so elevated that you're losing everybody. You're losing where the audience would connect to you. And for like I said, probably for what was it? Like your wife said, and you were saying, and I will agree that
Cate
Blanchett definitely
she anchored the movie. She kept it from being too silly.
Yes,
she reined Jack Black in a lot.
Yes,
which is great.
So the movie almost needed somebody like that who could have that. There is some over the topness to her, but it's not like it's so over the top, like, okay.
But she used it very rarely because she was the kind of the more sensible one.
Yes.
Because remember, you learned that in the movie, she knew and was more powerful. Even Uncle Jonathan said that. She was way more powerful than he was. So she seen and done a lot more in her life, and you realize experienced a lot more as a character.
Right.
And first of all, in terms of acting, the kid was horrible. He was so when he started crying about the Magic 8-Ball, I'm like, yeah. So you did that. You're like, oh Lord. Yes, yeah. The acting for the kid was awful. Jack Black was Jack Black. Cate Blanchett was really good as Cate Blanchett. Although I did think because she played her character as sort of a German Jewish person, I think her accent came and went sometimes. Which is crazy, which is weird because she's really pretty good at accents, which is, I don't understand that.
Some of these things, like, you're going to figure, like, editor's choice, because like I said, he said, he would say particular lines, Jack Black would say particular lines in the trailer more differently than he did in the actual movie.
Right. And
you're kind of like, all right, well, he said something a certain way. They just decided to go with a different, different tone.
They put in like a 30... Like not even a half-second pause, like a 5-second pause, which made it feel more dark.
Yes,
it had left a hang a little bit.
And it was almost like somebody was just like, "All right, guys, no, let's tone this down
a
little bit. Let's lighten it up." Yeah, so like, come on, Jack, Jack, do your thing, man. I'm gonna look at it, I guess, through my my child eyes. Put it that way. As a child, if I were seeing this, I would enjoy myself. I would not remember this. I mean, I would remember certain things, maybe, but there's nothing in here that really stands out to where I'm like, oh my gosh, like I can't wait for the next one or something. Right. There's a level of blandness to it. When it's going, when it gets some action going and stuff like that, okay, I'm with it. When it gets some interesting story elements going for it, I'm there. But when it tries to go to that comedic side for the kids, it slows down and it completely loses me at times. And
I think
to the point where I'm like, obviously it's a kids movie, so we got to have poop jokes in there for
there
some reason.
There you go.
And I don't know why.
Right.
You don't need them at all.
Well, remember like that scene you're talking about? You were like, that's a nice scene. All of a sudden,
yes, poop joke.
I'm like, really?
Immediately ruins it.
Yes, it really does. It really does.
Like, I know I never talk trash about like directors or anything like that, but I hear people like I've seen and heard a lot of critics talk bad about Eli Roth, and I didn't know he was directing this movie. And a part of me, when I saw his name in the credits, I was like, uh-oh. You know, because I haven't seen a lot of his films. You know, I've heard about them, and it's not like I don't see it because he directed it or anything. It's just like it's just something I'm not interested in. Like he said in an interview we were listening to earlier, he does a lot of gory horror movies,
right? Like Hostel and
things. And I'm like, that's not, you know, like that's not my form of horror. You know. That just doesn't do it for me. So I, typically stay away from it. He did the remake for Death Wish, actually.
Okay.
With Bruce Willis.
Was that any good?
I don't know. I haven't seen it.
I was like, I haven't seen either. I mean, I didn't avoid it because of him or Bruce Willis. I like Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
I just didn't really know what would be new about it because it's the same story.
Like,
I'm not. I don't know.
You know, I'm not all that into it and everything. So I'm just like, the movies that he directed, it just wasn't it didn't interest me.
Right.
So it wasn't anything against him. It was just like, okay, yeah, he's going to have his own fan base and everything. That's just not me. But I would hear, people would just rip into this director all the time. And I'm just like, man, I don't typically like to do that because like, you don't know the person. So how are you going to rip into somebody like that? But I saw it and I saw his name, but I could not help myself just to be like, uh-oh. A little bit.
Well, now that you have seen it, did the
Nah, it's not even that, like, it's not even that bad to me to where I'm just like, it's just not memorable. There's nothing like, there's not enough imagination there. I'm like, this is a movie that has like, it's magic. It's mystical and everything.
It should be awe-inspiring. It should be amazing. It should be, I mean, it's almost like in this version, the kid was so non-mesmerized by magic that, like you said, it could have taken place in modern era, and he would just go like, "Oh, I see that all the time."
Right.
As opposed to in the 50s, where TV is very rare back in the 50s because not everybody had TV.
Right.
And so even that would have been like, "Oh, it's amazing. TV is amazing," you know. But magic would be even more so amazing. But to him, it was kind of like, please teach me magic.
Yeah.
Cool, it's magic. Yay, I'm doing magic now.
Yeah.
I'm like, not like it's any like scary or like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that, you know? And I don't know, the kid, the way they portrayed it, different from the book, of course, was almost like he was cool with doing magic and it wasn't anything special or amazing just about. Because he was like, okay, I do these things and kids laugh, blah, 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 whatever.
Dare I say, I think, now I don't know how you might feel about this, but I almost think that this would have done better as a TV series. I almost think it would have been done better.
Yeah, like a Netflix or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly, you
can take your time and you can explore more, you can expand more, so that when like you have these slower moments, okay, but it's still building to something, you know, stuff like that. So I think it would have been done better as that. I can't tell you to go see it. Like if you are a fan of the books, obviously William's going to attest to that and everything like that. But as just a general moviegoer, I can't really tell you to go see it. If your kid looks interested in it, he might enjoy them. He or she might enjoy themselves. But like I said, there's not a lot there. There's just not a lot of imagination to where like, okay, man, I am so into this. And maybe that's a studio decision. They didn't want to dump so much in. They only wanted to put so much into it. It being the first movie of a potential franchise, I guess. And
because there's just quite a few books that involve Louis Barnevelt and his uncle and Mrs. Zimmerman and Rose Rita, that you meet at the end of the movie.
So maybe they didn't want to dump too much into it, but I still think you could have probably done a better job with it. But maybe so. I would say it's a wait for it to come out, wait for it to come out. And, if you got kids, they'll sit down, sit them down on the couch and let them enjoy it,
Yeah.